Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. New patch, new character, new stage. The version 4.10 revision of Tekken 7 is here. Yeah, it's looking really, really good. I want to look over these very nice version 4.10 patch notes. The super cool thing about these patch notes, as you might have noticed, they are much, much more detailed than previous Tekken 7 notes. Before, you would just get like, properties changed, counter-hit properties change, and you wouldn't know what that meant. But that is completely different now. Every single change has an accompanying paragraph that clearly explains the end goal of what they were trying to achieve and why they made those changes. One minor niggle: if you're a multinational corporation and your game has sold 7 million copies, you might want to take 10 minutes just to do a bit of proofreading. Vulnerable, very difficulty, do the low parry, anticipate. Bandai Namco, you buy me a sandwich and I'll proofread your notes for you. Basically, the thrust of these patch notes, a lot of characters got basically bug fixes, bug changes, a lot of moves that you couldn't parry before, you can now parry. The brunt of the balancing was done to the top 3 characters before, which was Fahkumram, Steve, Julia. Fahkumram being the most nerfed, I think, then Steve, then Julia. I actually think Julia could have been nerfed a bit more, but let's hop into her changes. The biggest nerf that Julia got was to her lashing arrow, which is this. Yeah. On block at like tip range, it gives you plus frames. Very good approach tool. There we go. Before, on hit, you'll basically guarantee a forward 3. So you could start this obnoxious little loop over here. But now, thankfully, they can back roll it. So nothing is guaranteed anymore. Wonderful. Good change. Good change. The other change is to her up forward 1. This is a mid, right? Looks like a high, but it's a mid. And on counter hit, it gives you a little combo. Well, I say little. Nothing's little with Julia. It was often used after a party crasher on block, right? Because if you try to jab her immediately afterwards, you'd get counter hit. And yeah, this is now -12. It was safe before. Now it's -12, has less pushback, so you can punish it. I find it weird that out of all of Julia's mids to make unsafe, they picked up forward 1 and not this, her safe mid wall bounce. Bit of an odd decision. In all honesty, I think this should have been made unsafe too, because not only is this safe, it has a bit of pushback, quite a bit of pushback actually. So it's very hard to get to start any kind of meaningful pressure on Julia afterwards. The other nerf that Julia got was to her sidestep 4. Used to be +3 on hit, now it's neutral. On counter hit, it used to knock down for free ground hits, but now it just does the toe hop stun. Nothing's guaranteed, but you get nice lick of frame advantage, 13 frames. One of Julia's weaknesses is supposed to be she doesn't have fast lows that give her plus on hit. It's good that they brought back this weakness to Julia. A character is defined not just by their strengths, but also by their weaknesses. And a very minor change to Julia is that her stomp up forward 3+4 now does less damage. You can see 27 damage, it used to do 30. So it's a very minor damage nerf. In all honesty, I think they could have done more damage nerfs to Julia. I think she does too much damage. I think they could have nerfed her a bit more. She got away out of the top 3 with the lighter slap on the wrist. Let's move on to the character who I think was nerfed quite a bit more, none other than the Gov, Steve Fox. Let's start off with the big nerf, right? His main homing move, down forward 2, no longer a homing move. In fact, it has very bad tracking. Step to the right, and you can also step it to the left, which I think looks a bit odd, I think. You can actually see his fist clipping through on certain characters. You'd think it might track to his right or catch sidestep left, but no, it is completely linear now. Reactions to this have been quite mixed among Steve players. Arguably the best Steve player in the world, Ira. I'm extremely sad and disappointed with this balance changes. I have put my life in Steve. Steve has been nerfed so many times, but this time he is dead. Steve literally doesn't have any homing moves now, except Peekaboo 2. Knee, I understand how you feel. We must stop play Steve now. And on the other hand, we have Doug from Paris, unquestionably the best European Steve player. Big thanks for Harada and Michael Murray for the patch notes. As a Steve main, I've been asking these types of nerfs for almost 3 years. Those changes will make Steve a more sophisticated character to play. I will be stronger with this. My Steve is nowhere near the caliber of these players, but I'm more with Doug on this because a fast, mid, homing move with decent range that gives you a combo on counter hit simply should not exist. Steve may not have any homing moves from outside Peekaboo anymore, but Steve's innate tracking on a lot of his moves is very, very good. Okay, so jabs, you need to step to the right. You can't step them to the left. Down, forward, one. Down, forward, one. That's some pretty good tracking to both sides, surprisingly, see? But more often than not, you can sidestep it to the left, but it'll snub sidestep right. So opposite directions, yeah? On his key pokes. On top of that, back one tracks to both sides. To the left, to the right. It's basically a homing move, and all of his key low pokes, like Peekaboo down one, like down one, and down two, these all track to both sides too. What I'm trying to get at here is that it's not like if you remove the homing property on this, like sidestepping is suddenly a massive weakness. He still has really good tracking. Even if you do manage to sidestep. Yeah, you see that? Because it goes into duck instantly, you can't actually sidestep and punish with jabs, right? What you need to do is sidestep block and then whiff confirm that he did the down forward 2. What this means is you cannot spam down forward 2 anymore. You have to be a bit more thoughtful about your timing and your move variation. It makes Steve a more interesting character. I really like this change. This move should have never been a homing move. One thing which I think is really important to mention about his down forward 2, which I didn't say earlier, is that the downwards range of down forward 2, the downwards hitbox, has also been increased. Frizen, who is a strong Polish, actually a Polish Steve Tekken player. Steve is much better character to main now. None of these go under down forward 2 anymore. He does slightly worse in his okay matchups, but much better in his nightmare matchups. No need for counter picks anymore. See? That wasn't a thing before. And that really actually helps in this matchup. It's not infallible. It's not like down forward 2 now has range all the way down to the ground or anything. Like some super evasive moves will still evade it. It should still go under. See? Not always though. The next whiff is to his back one recovery. Back one and down forward 2 are two of Steve's core moves. What they did in season 3 is they added 2 frames of whiff recovery to back one, and now they've added another 3. Right, you see that? See? Threw it out for quite a while, still got punished. Considering the potential, like, reward from this move, I think this is a warranted nerf as well. Next is this. Albatross 2 in combos has less wall carry out there. Ah, see? He just missed the wall. The problem with the Albatross 2 ender before is that it was sort of the best of both worlds, right? Damage and wall carry. Now you have to pick. Do I want wall carry with Duck 1? Or do I want damage with Albatross 2? Or do I want lots of damage with Peekaboo forward 2-1, but harder wall conversions? This is what I'm using for wall carry now. See? I don't like one-size-fits-all combo solutions. I like having to put some thought into my combos. All of these changes are about making Steve players think more. The other change, and I think, again, this is warranted, down forward 1-2-2 and forward 2-1-2. These are both -10 now, making them punishable. Totally makes sense because they're quite hard to interrupt. They are mid, they used to be safe, and even on normal hits, they give you a knockdown which gives you a free forward forward 2 for a nice lick of damage. Totally makes sense for that to be jab punishable. And the last thing is that his rage drive does 25 damage, like 5 points less. The rage drive, if you hit them to the wall and you need an optimal combo, you would break 100 damage. You don't do that anymore. A fairly minor damage nerf for what is probably the best rage drive in the game. I'm totally on board with that. In fact, I think they could have nerfed this even more. They should have nerfed this even more. I don't understand why you're at a frame positive situation after this on block. That makes zero sense to me. One last change. Another damage nerf is that his flicker back 2 does 6 points less damage. Yeah, 21, down from 27. Again, totally understandable because it gives you free hits. Yeah, if you're really good, you can actually get the Shiro combo from it, you see? Yeah, it's a power crush. Yeah, power crush that gives you combos if your execution is good. And even from max range, a free forward forward 2. Totally understandable they'd want to nerf the damage on that a bit, right? Totally understandable. So, in a nutshell, I think Steve is still really good. He's still a very good, very safe, very rewarding character. You just can't spam down forward 2 and back 1 as much as you used to before. You need to mix up your timing a bit, you need to be a bit more unpredictable, and you need to use a greater variety of moves. Bravo! I like that. People crying that he's dead is just such hyperbolic nonsense, I'm sorry. Though, people saying that are the best Steve players in the world, but I will argue that very often, top players have pretty exaggerated opinions. They see things through a very competitive lens. Onto the character who got the most nerfs, I think. That's Fuj Magooge. And I'm gonna go down to the bottom floor for this, because the music changes. There we go. Yeah. You hear that? Hey, it goes from Tekken 5 to Tekken 4 music. So sick, huh? So let's look at Fuj Magooge, right? If you've been tuning into the tournament scene recently, Fahkumram's been an absolute menace for the past year or so. He's just been so dominant, and they've nerfed him quite a few times, and he's still lingered. But I think this time, these nerfs are quite meaningful. They may well shake him off the top spot. I think the biggest nerf is this. Before, this did a little ballerina spin that left Fahkumram at plus 16. Basically meaning he had a free 50-50 afterward, down back 4. A monstrously damaging low, and his bevy of excellent mids. Not only that, this move was safe on block as well. And he had 1-1 as well if you were thinking of crouching it. So yeah, it hurts his whiff punishment quite a bit from sidesteps. It hurts his I-10 punishment. And this is where a lot of his momentum got rolling after this, after 1-4. Perhaps most of all, it really hurts his wall game. Oh, well, back here again, yeah. Fahkumram was an absolute menace at the wall because he could poke around and then he could sidestep, 1-4, wall splat. You can't do that anymore. In fact, I think his wall game is still very good. He has all those guard breaks, of course, but it does make him quite a bit less scary at the wall. As we mentioned before, his 1-1, this used to, if the second hit connected on counter hits, would knock down for free hits. No knockdown anymore. So his jab strings, both 1-4 and 1-1, are both weaker. And that's very important. Like, jab strings are core to a character. Speaking of core moves, both his standing 3 and his down forward 1, his core mid pokes, had some nerfs to their frame data. 3 frames of recovery to standing 3 and 2 frames of recovery to down forward 1. Honestly, I'm a little bit shocked that it took them a year for them to do anything about standing 3. This move is like the reason Fahkumram is so insanely good. Not only that, but his 3 string has been nerfed in another way as well. So his 3-4, his 3-4, that used to knock down on normal hit, which made it terrifying to duck stuff like 3-1. It used to give you a knockdown, which gave you a free forward 4-2-1 for huge damage, and also meant that if standing 3 connected on counter hits, you'd also get that. So 3-4 into forward 4-2-1 for like huge damage. Now it only knocks down if it connects by itself on counter hits, which is quite a big nerf and totally reasonable. The other change is his safe mid wall bounce. Like Julia, he has a safe mid wall bounce. Sure, why not? Before, this had more pushback, which left Fahkumram at this sort of range here, which is the range he likes to be in. It was very hard to start up any kind of pressure against Fahkumram for this range because he's Fahkumram. His jabs are huge, his pokes are huge. So now you can actually take your turn against forward 1+2. Another big nerf is to his down forward 2-3. This move was never hit confirmable, but it was whiff confirmable. So you could jab around, down forward 1, 1-2, 1-2, then sidestep, do down forward 2. If you saw the opponent twitch during your down forward 2, you hit 3, big combo. Now it's not whiff confirmable anymore. You have to commit to it. And not only that, but it's more unsafe on block. It used to be -11, now it's -12. So it's a bit more punishable as well. Again, a great change, I think. All of these changes are changes to bullshit moves. Down 3+4. This is his punch parry, right? It has a small punch parry window, and he gets a full combo. It used to be, on block, -13. Now it's -17. Meaning every character in the game, even Steve with his back 2, can launch punish this. I didn't think this was a particularly OP move, but it was kind of a bullshit move. So I can understand why they did that. Now it's a high risk, high reward panic move. Very high risk, very high risk. I don't think this is worth it anymore. Speaking of moves being made more punishable, down forward 3 is now up from -1 to -2 on hit, which is whatever. But quite importantly, it's -13 on block, which is very big in some matchups like Kazuya, Josie, Eddie, Akuma. Matchup dependent, a minor change. Speaking of minor change, down 4 does 3 points less damage, from 18 to 15 points. Also 4-4. Minor change. Speaking of damage changes, his rage drive does quite a bit less damage. Yeah, I used to do like nearly 50 damage, now it's down to 40, which is fine because it was such a fast +1. Yeah, you could tack it in combos. Yeah, totally makes sense. And finally, his wall game is less scary and his wall combos are also less damaging. So back 4-3-2, this string now does 6 points less damage. Yeah, so yeah, quite a few nerfs to some core tools. The 1-4 nerf in particular is very important because that's where Fahkumram got a lot of his momentum from. Standing 3 and down forward 1 nerfs are, yes, they're bad. I mean, they're pretty impactful, but because he had so many options from them, right? It's not, an absolute wash. His 3-4 also being nerfed makes his 3 string in general much less scary. It's actually quite a bit less scary to duck after standing 3. Because if you get hit by this, whatever. Before, if you got hit by this, even on normal hit, that would connect, right? So you can definitely duck this in more confidence now. You can duck the 3-1. He still has really, really strong mix-ups from a standing 3. A huge, 13-frame poke from this kind of range. But they're just not, they're a bit watered down now. Rightfully so. All of the changes pretty much in this balance patch are very well considered for Julia, Fahkumram, and Steve. The only thing I'm a bit slightly perplexed is what they omitted. I would have put Geese right up there with Steve, Fahkumram, and Julia beforehand. And Geese didn't get any nerfs. I think Geese is entirely, his damage potential is entirely too high. I think Jayaken does too much damage. He can still just fart around with jabs and down forward 1s until he builds meter to just basically kill you. I think he's too explosive. I would have liked to see a bit of a damage nerf on Geese, honestly. The other thing I was a bit disappointed with was what they did to Kunimitsu. So with Kunimitsu, she got a few quality of life and bug fixes, but what I was really looking for Kunimitsu was better hitboxes on forward 4 and back turns 1-3. These are core to her combo game, and they have terrible, really inconsistent hitboxes, so a lot of her staple B&Bs would often drop, and they didn't touch those for some reason. It seems like a strange omission. One more thing I would have liked to see with Kunimitsu is, I think, her 4-2 and 2-2 shouldn't catch sidestep right. Sidestep right is supposed to be a real meaningful weakness for Kunimitsu, but at the moment it's a bit too easy to negate that because this really powerful move that goes into back turn and is only -3 on block and jails for some reason, catches sidestep right, and 2-2, this insane string with like, you know, a billion different variations, and it catches sidestep right, makes this supposed weakness for Kunimitsu a bit less meaningful, and I think it should be a weakness. I don't think Kunimitsu is OP or anything, but I think she's a bit of too much of a headache. She's a bit obnoxious. Not that she's OP. Speaking of OP, broken, whatever, I made a little tier list. So quick tier thoughts after the latest patch. Didn't change much, but basically top 3 used to be Steve, Fahkumram, Julia, or Fahkumram, Steve, Julia. Current placement, of course, mostly just an educated guess now. Ordering gets murkier the further down you go, since you see bottom characters less in tournaments. Basically, the balance patch doesn't change who is the top 10, but does change the order of the top 10. I think Fahkumram is here. We'll see. He's still very easy, very simple, very strong. Maybe he's still top 5. Those are my thoughts on balance patch version 1.40. Please let me know what you think. Really curious to hear your opinions. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed watching this. Really helps the channel out. And I'll catch you next time, where I'll be trying out this character, Lydia.